Series 3, and lesson 3.4. And the topic on tonight is a storm and a snake, but we're going to go on and read the word. The focus verse is coming from Acts 27:23 to 25. The lesson text is Acts 27, the entire chapter, and Acts 28 and verse 5, 1 through 5. Acts 27 and 1 through 44, and as it reads, and when it was determined that we should sail into Italy, they delivered Paul and certain other prisoners unto one named Julius, a centurion of Augustus' band, and entering into a ship of Adramyttium, we launched, meaning to sail by the coast of Asia, one Aristarchus, a Macedonia Thessalonica, being with us. And the next day we touched at Sidon, and Julius courtesy entreated Paul and gave him liberty to go unto his friend to refresh himself. And when we had launched from thence, we sailed unto Cyprus, because the wind was contrary. And when we had sailed over the sea of Cilicia, and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia, and there the centurion found a ship of Alexander sailing into Italy, and he put us therein. And when we had sailed slowly many days and scarce, we came over against Nidus. The wind not suffering us, we sailed under Crete over against Sama, and hardly passing it came unto a place which is called the Fair Havens, now whereunto was the city of Lycia. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, because the fast was now already past, Paul admonished them, and said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the Latin and ship, but also of our lives. Nevertheless, the centurion believed the master and the owner of the ship more than those things which Paul were spoken by. And because the haven was not commodious is to winter, and the more part advised to depart thence also, if by any means they might attain to Phoenix, and there to winter, which is an haven of Crete, and lies towards the southwest and northwest. And when the south wind blew softly, supposedly that they had obtained their purpose, loosing thence, they sailed close by Crete. But now long after, there arose against a tempestuous wind called Euroclydon. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. And running under a certain island which is called Claudia, we had much work to come by the boat, which when they had taken up, they used help undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksand and strait, sail, and so were driven. And we being exceedingly tossed with a tempest, the next day they lightened the ship, and the third day we cast out our own hands in tackling of the ship. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us. All hope that we should be saved was taken away. But after long absence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God has given thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God that it shall be even as it was told me. Howbeit, we must be cast upon a certain island. But when the 14th night was come, as we were driven up and down Adria, about midnight, the shipmen deemed that they drew near to some country, and found it 20 fathom. And when they had gone a little further, they sounded again and found it 15 fathom. Then, fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern, and wished for the day. And as the shipmen were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down the boat into the sea under color, as though they would have cast anchors out of the foreship, Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, Except these abide in the ship, ye cannot be saved. Then the soldiers cut off the rope of the boat and let her fall off. And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to meet, saying, This day is the 14th day that ye have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. Wherefore I pray you to take some meat, for this is for your health, for there shall not an hair fall from the head of any of you. And when he had thus spoken, he took bread and gave thanks to God in presence of them all, in the presence of them all. And when he had broken it, he began to eat. Then they all of good cheer, they also took some meat, and we were in all in the ship 260 souls. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat. 28. I'm not on 28 yet. And when it was day, they knew not the land, but they discovered a certain creek with a shore, into the which they were mandate, if it were possible, to thrust in the ship. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, and loosed the rudder bands, and hoised up the mainsail to the wind, and made toward shore. And falling into a place where 2 seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart stuck fast and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the wave. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. But the centurion, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea and get to land, and the rest, some on boards and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they escaped all safe to land. Acts 28, 1-5. And when they were escaped, then they knew that the island was called Melita, and the barbarous people showed us no little kindness, for they kindled a fire and received us every one because of the present rain and because of the cold. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom, though he has escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffered not to live." And he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. Hallelujah. Thank you. You may be seated. Again, our subject on tonight is a storm and a snake. And the truth about God, God will sustain us because of his plan. Truth for my life, I will trust God's plan. Thank you, Lord. And as we go into the lesson on tonight, we are talking about Paul. And we're talking about Paul is still on trial. As Evangelist Johnson brought an awesome lesson on last week, talking about Paul being on trial. So Paul is still, he's a prisoner going to Rome. God said he must go to Rome. And, you know, we're talking also the plan that God have for our lives. The plan that God had for Paul's life was Paul was to make it to Rome, because he had to go to Rome because God wanted him to preach the gospel. He preached the gospel to the Jews and the Gentiles. The Jews, they rejected him. So he wanted to preach the gospel to the Gentile, which is sinners, people we call of heathen sinners and unsaved people. And we all been there before. So God had a plan for Paul's life, just like God has a plan for our life.
That's right.
I want to expound a little bit on God sustaining us when he has a plan for our life. No matter what we may go through, no matter what may hinder us, when God got a plan for us, it's going to happen.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
Paul had to get to Rome because he wanted to appeal before Caesar. He was a Roman citizen, so he wanted to go before the Roman emperor and be on trial there. As last week they talked about, they found him not guilty when he was tried. So therefore God sustained Paul, although Paul was in a shipwreck. And you know, Paul had told the captain, I don't know too much about ships, I don't know nothing about no ships. I don't know who he is, but I think they call him a captain, or could be something else. I'm going to say captain.
Sounds good.
The captain of the ship, and the centurion, the soldier that was over the prisoners. Now, Paul had been shipwrecked 3 times. And with 3 shipwrecks, I think Paul knew what he was talking about. Paul told them that they shouldn't sail out in that way. But they felt like the centurion and the captain opinion was more important than Paul's opinion. And how many know that it's us today? That is us today. Sometimes you can, when you've been through something, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When you've been through it, you can tell somebody about it.
That's right.
But if you haven't been through it, you can't tell nobody. You can tell somebody what you know. But apparently telling them the detail, you can't tell them that because you hadn't been through that. Paul been through 3 shipwrecks, and this was his 4th shipwreck. So he knew what he was talking about. And so if the ship, the captain and the soldier had to listen to him, they would save themselves in trouble and still had a ship. They wouldn't have went through all of that because the man knew what he was talking about, but they failed to listen. They're just like if you driving and you come from a certain direction and you are meeting someone and you tell them don't go that way, the bridge is out. And they go that way anyway. They're going to fall in it. They're going to fall in because they failed to listen. That person what was coming from direction, they know what they was talking about. And so that's what we're saying tonight. God will sustain